I wanted to have a conversation with some young voters and find out what's important to them and why the GOP isn't more appealing. Now, here to help me do that is friend of the program, Reggie Hawkins, program director for Hip Hop Nation on SiriusXM satellite radio, and we've put together a panel of interns from The Blaze and SiriusXM. Here with me are Kate Boyle, Liz Scotti, Matt Donlin, Carly Hoylman, and Tamon Turner. All right, so this started when you came in to join me on a pop culture special that we did related to conservatives, and sometimes they complain too much about pop culture. And you said, on some issues you agree with Republicans and people like me, but when you turn on the Republican National Convention, you saw cowboy hats.
Yeah, you did. On a lot of issues, I agree with you. And I told you, I said, as I started making money, and as I saw how much was taken out of my checks, it was like, okay, hey, maybe I should vote this way or that way and vote my pocket. But it's very difficult when you don't see things and people in surroundings that you're familiar with. And that's been the grand old party's biggest problem. What, come on, grand old? How are you going to get young voters when your name is grand and old?
You are correct. Now, I could easily go to Kate and Tamon because you guys have both talked to me and worked with me. So I'm going to start with you. Carly, why would somebody at your age think a big government is better? Isn't this the age where you kind of want to get out from under a parental-like apparatus?
Sure, but big is generally more appealing to our generation in general. I feel like bigger is better. Everyone's doing it big. Just look at the Democratic National Convention. That was exciting. There were celebrities there. There was a lot of money put into it, and we like flashy.
Money that you want to take from those celebrities if you're young because they make lots of it.
Absolutely, but we just see that we're not looking that far into it, sadly. And I'm not saying this group right here necessarily, but our generation isn't super concerned about that. It's mostly what we see on the surface.
All right, Matt, so other youth movements, like in the 1960s, rejected the government of their day. They thought it was too big or too conservative, maybe it was a label back then. Why would a younger voter today, and as I asked her, why would you want a big government? A big government only leads to oppression.
While I agree with a big government can lead to oppression, I think a reason a young person might look to a big government is for protection. Young people, they're just going into the world and they want to feel protected. And I think if you see a big government, you're going to say, oh, well, okay, the government's going to help me. If I ever get into trouble or whatever, the government's going to say, okay, well, we have all this money, so we can apply that to you. And while that might necessarily not be true, that's, I think, the feeling that would bring a young person to a big government situation.
Liz, the government doesn't just give without telling you what to do. It's not that simple. So I'm going to ask you the same question. What do you think a young person finds comforting about big government?
I mean, I think the protection, as Matt said, that, I mean, when you have security behind you, you feel like you can go and do what you want without having to fear what the repercussions could be when you want to follow your dreams when you're right out of college doing things. So that's what I feel.
All right, now I know where you're going to go, Tamon, because you and I have talked about this. We have had long discussions, you and I, about big government. So you can give me why you don't like big government.
I don't like big government because when big government gets involved, they can dictate what you can and cannot do with your life. And I should have a choice. I'm an individual. I support individual freedom. I should have the choice to say and do what I want to do without government coming out and saying, hey, you can't do that.
And that's what happens. It's not that simple that we just help you with a scholarship or health care. And you said you've kind of had, usually when someone says I had my eyes opened by a professor, it's usually like I roll my eyes. All right, but you actually study with Paul Kanger, who wrote The Communist and has been a guest on this program. And you said he's been very influential on you.
He has been probably the single most influential person besides my dad in my political views. He has brought things to the table that I never would have thought about myself, and especially with socialism, because he was originally kind of leaned more toward socialism, and he just did a really good job explaining things to me and why it doesn't work. And what happens when government gets so involved like that is you don't, like Tamon said, you don't have a choice. And I'm sick of not having a choice in what I want to do. It's not anyone's place to tell me what to do, so smaller the better.